Coming up on tonight's broadcast, eCampus becoming more popular, a helicopter crash kills 7 Marines, and one woman is turning used bras into freedom. All that and more right here on Beaver News.
Good evening and welcome to your Thursday night edition of the Beaver News. We're glad to have you with us. I'm Brittany Mangold.
And I'm Brenda Ivey. Have you ever wondered if there's life on another planet? An OSU researcher is hoping his rover named Curiosity can help answer that question. Kim Kenny of the Daily Barometer reports that Martin Fisk, along with 28 other research scientists, were chosen to investigate the possibility of life on Mars. Curiosity is expected to land on Mars August 5th and will be sending data back to the scientists. The focus for Fisk is using UV light to recognize any organic matter on Mars, which is necessary as a component for life. Curiosity will continue its exploration of Mars until its power source runs out.
It is the 5th week of Recycle Mania competition, and Oregon State University continues to outcompete University of Oregon. Gwen Shaw of the Daily Barometer reports the results of Recycle Mania at this point are Oregon State at 8.5 pounds per person and University of Oregon at 5.9 pounds. Many events are already over, but the resident hall competition is currently underway and will continue through next week. McNary Hall is ahead with 2.6 pounds per capita of recycling. The closed swap event started today and will continue tomorrow from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the Women's Center. Another event to remember is the dumpster audit, which takes place next Tuesday at the MU Quad Steps from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. A dumpster will be picked through to demonstrate the many recyclable items thrown away. Details of upcoming event can be found online at recycle.oregonstate.edu.
A recent graduate from Oregon State University has made it into the top 42 contestants of the hit show American Idol. Haley Johnson graduated in the fall and entered the American Idol contest in Portland. While at OSU, Johnson was involved in the group Divine and was in the Glee Club. Gwen Shaw of the Daily Barometer reports that viewings for the rest of the season will take place in the Memorial Union Commons with big screens and large speakers, where you can join other Oregon State students and fans to cheer her on. These viewings started yesterday and will be held every Wednesday and Thursday night at the same time, as well as a Tuesday show on the 28th, which is American Idol's 400th episode.
With growing enrollment, OSU's eCampus is providing alternatives for students. Amanda Untel of the Daily Barometer reports more Oregon State students are resorting to online classes, but how much those classes cost can be a matter of misconception. When making the decision to enroll in online classes, many students assume the classes will be cheaper and make the graduation process easier. However, online credit hours are $248 per credit, a $75 increase than a normal OSU credit hour. Though eCampus does not receive funding from the main campus, it is a unit of OSU, and the extra fee is to supplement eCampus services and class setup costs. eCampus services include online counseling and advising, tutoring, instructional service, teacher training, and new media development coordinators. Lisa Templeton, the executive director of Extended Campus, claims, quote, "Many faculty members say that it takes more time to develop a high-quality online course than it does for a site-based course," end quote. The way classes are chosen to become a part of eCampus is fairly complicated. The academic unit chooses which classes will be converted based on popularity and whether the classes can be taught effectively online. Despite the high cost of online courses, enrollment in eCampus continues to rise, and there has been discussions about a new form of courses called hybrid courses, in which classroom and online sessions are combined.
Just a reminder that tomorrow is the last day for students to change to or from satisfactory, unsatisfactory grading. In order to make this change, you must submit a change of grading basis form to the registrar's office no later than 5 p.m. after having it signed by your academic advisor. Undergraduate students may not SU more than 36 credits, nor are they able to SU classes they wish to count towards their major. A grade of satisfactory will be equivalent to grades A through C-, An unsatisfactory grade is equivalent to grades D+ through F. S and U grades do not affect your grade point average, although only S credits award any credit. Contact the office of the registrar or your academic advisor if you have any questions.
Don Eiler of the Daily Barometer reports 3 bills concerning funding were passed at last night's House of Representatives meeting. ASOSU House of Representatives voted on several bills designed to rectify the situation regarding the recent accusations against alleged associated students of Oregon State University executive branch misdoings. Joint Bill 7104, which requires 2 town hall meetings per term in order for students to have more opportunities to express their concerns to the legislator, was one of the passing bills. Another passing Joint Bill 7106 requires additional signing authority to ASOSU expenditures and requires the administrative and logistics advocate to sign any expenditure totaling more than $5,000 or 10% of a budget. This bill was designed as a check against the illegal raises that ASOSU executive members received since June of 2011 and to prevent abuse of ASOSU finances. Representative Brian Powell proposed a resolution that would require the president and vice president to speak before the House next week in order to hear their side of the story about the pay raises and other recent allegations. Powell's proposed resolution passed, and the president will be speaking to a joint session of Congress on February 29th. We are heading into our first short break of the evening, but when we return, we will have a weather update and a look at news around the nation. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to the Beaver News right here on KBVR. Despite it occurring close to a year ago, concerns are still around about the debris that washed up on U.S. shores resulting from the tragic earthquake that struck Fukushima, Japan last March. Nuclear radiation health experts at Oregon State University claim there is no risk of residual radiation. However, they do warn of other dangers. Catherine Higley, head of the Department of Nuclear Engineering and Radiation Health Physics at OSU, said, quote, "The tsunami impacted several industrial areas and no doubt swept out to sea many things like bottled chemicals or other compounds that could be toxic. If you see something like that on the beach, it may have come from this accident and you shouldn't assume that it is safe," end quote. Debris from Japan should start washing in later this year, so take care on the shores.
The ability for Oregon State University to initiate construction of multiple buildings is currently being debated among state legislators. As the Daily Barometer's Josie DeWitt reports, in 2010, a student referendum passed in favor of increasing student fees in order to build the Student Experience Center, which would be the new home for student organizations. The Student Experience Center and 3 other proposed buildings were grouped together in a capital construction bill that was brought before the legislators last summer, but the legislator decided not to take action on the bill during that session. In addition to the SEC, OSU's construction project includes renovation of Memorial Union and a new residential hall. Oregon State cannot formally begin preparation or planning until the university is granted permission to sell the bond supported by student fees that would fund the construction. OSU's Director of Government Relations, Jock Mills, attended the hearings in Salem and asserts, quote, "We're optimistic that legislators can agree that the OSU projects are worthy of funding, but this is part of a bigger package deal, and it's not certain that legislators will come together on all the things that need to be agreed to."
An arraignment was held today for Private First Class Bradley Manning, who is facing court-martial. Manning is facing multiple charges, including aiding the enemy, theft of public records, and fraud. If convicted, Manning would face life in prison, be forced to forfeit pay and allowances, and receive a reduction in pay, as well as a dishonorable discharge. CNN reports that Manning is accused of uploading 700 Guantanamo Bay detainee interrogation records after installing software that allowed him to download information and burn it to a disk. Manning distributed the information that he downloaded among WikiLeaks, an online group that published classified government documents.
7 U.S. Marines have been killed in the mid-air collision of 2 U.S. military helicopters in southern Arizona, reports CNN. The crash occurred during a routine training operation Wednesday night at the Marine Corps Air Station. Involved in the collision was an AH-1W Super Cobra attack helicopter and a UH-1Y Huey utility chopper. Both were part of the 3rd Marine Corps, and we won't We won't know exactly what happened. Hold on, we have some technical difficulties that we're dealing with right now. Here we go. Marine Corps spokeswoman Lieutenant Marine Dooley commented, quote, "We won't know exactly what happened until the investigation is complete, and we can't make any assumptions right now," end quote. Authorities did not plan to release the names of the Marines involved until their families were notified. The 7 Marines on board were preparing for deployment to Afghanistan. We now go to Courtney Becker for a look at the weather.
Good evening, Corvallis. Tonight I have your 5-day forecast. Tonight, expect to see some clear skies with a low of 32 degrees at night. On Friday, we have some more sun with a high of 55 degrees during the day and a low of 39 degrees at night. On Saturday, we're back to some rain with a high of 46 degrees and a low of 34 degrees at night. On Sunday, the rain continues with a high of 46 degrees and a low of 30 degrees at night. Finally, on Monday, we're back to some sunny skies with a high of 48 degrees and a low of 30 degrees at night. That's your weather forecast for this week. Have a great weekend. Back to you in the studio.
In the latest controversy involving Planned Parenthood, an Indiana lawmaker claims Girl Scouts of America, quote, sexualizes young girls, promotes homosexuality, and is a tactical arm of Planned Parenthood, end quote. Representative Bob Morris sent a letter to members of the Republican caucus lobbying to oppose the celebration of the Girl Scouts centennial anniversary. Morris claims he did a small amount of research on the internet with his wife, and the two concluded the organization has become a tactical arm of Planned Parenthood. CEO and president of Planned Parenthood of Indiana, Betty Cockrum, replied, saying Morris's statement was, quote, inflammatory, misleading, and woefully inaccurate and harmful, end quote. While Morris acknowledged that 99.9% of troops have good leaders, his concern is where the money raised by the organization goes on a national level. Morris did not give specifics on what led him to his conclusions, other than the admittedly small amount of research. However, the Girl Scouts seem unfazed by his allegations. In a statement, the Girl Scouts responded, quote, regarding Representative Morris, if the freshman representative wishes to discredit the contributions that hundreds of thousands of Indiana women and girls have made through the Girl Scouts program over the last 100 years, then he is entitled to his opinion, end quote. Since 1917, every First Lady has been an honorary leader of Girl Scouts.
The grandmother and stepmother of a 9-year-old Alabama girl are being charged in her death. The young girl died on Monday after allegedly being ordered to run around her family's house for hours as punishment for lying about taking a candy bar. Alabama's Etowah County Sheriff's Captain Jeremy Walker announced, quote, Joyce Hardin Gerard, 46, and Jessica May Hardin, 27, were both arrested and charged with murder in connection to the death of Savannah Hardin, end quote. Joyce Gerard is the child's grandmother, and Jessica Hardin is her stepmother. At about 6:45 p.m., the stepmother called 911 and said that Savannah, who had run for about 3 hours, had suffered a seizure and was unresponsive. Savannah actually died Monday at Children's Hospital in Birmingham. A state pathologist in Huntsville ruled her death a homicide. Preliminary reports show Savannah was extremely dehydrated and had a very low sodium level. Savannah was a third-grade student at Carlisle Elementary School. Gerard and Hardin are being held in the Etowah County Detention Center in lieu of a $500,000 cash bond. We are now taking our final break of the evening, but we will be back in just a minute with your international coverage.
Welcome back to the Beaver News right here on KBVR. Meredith Lowell, a 27-year-old Ohio woman, was arrested Tuesday after the self-proclaimed animal rights activist created a Facebook posting in which she was looking for someone to kill a random person wearing fur. Lowell created a phony Facebook account in an attempt to find a hitman that was, according to the post, at least 12 years old, but preferably 14 or older, reports CNN. On her page, Lowell posted, quote, I would like to create an online community on Facebook which would allow me to find someone who is willing to kill someone who is wearing fur, end quote. An undercover FBI agent responded to the post, pretending to be interested in carrying out the killing. Lowell requested the murder happen at a public library so that she could not only watch the killing, but also hand out animal cruelty pamphlets afterwards. Lowell had previously contacted Cleveland Heights police requesting that they investigate the fur industry. Lowell is currently awaiting trial.
The number of celebrities entering rehab or passing away due to prescription pill addiction is becoming more prevalent, and this trend reflects an increase of prescription drug addiction among the average American. As CNN reports, substance abuse is one of the most pervasive and costly problems in our country. Over 68 million American adults have some form of substance use or disorder, and about 25 million are addicted to one or more substances. Every year, millions of lives are lost because of it. Brain imaging has shown us that drugs and alcohol work powerfully on the dopamine system, the reward-driven learning center, by stimulating pleasure that cannot be matched in normal human experience. This brain jolt results in a compelling desire in a person to repeat an experience, which then leads to signs of addiction. If a person has untreated mental illness, such as depression or anxiety, this effect can be greater. There is no cure for addiction, but experts insist the disease can be managed and recovery is possible. The most successful treatments are modeled after treatments for other chronic, non-curable, relapsing diseases, such as diabetes, hypertension, or asthma. Treatments for these diseases focus on helping patients comply with medications, which reduce symptoms, and adopting new health behaviors. Behavior therapy can help addicts by identifying their triggers and equipping them with coping skills for dealing with these overwhelming urges to use substances.
A mystery that is over 30 years old is getting another look as coroners hear new evidence on Azaria Chamberlain's death. Chamberlain was only 2 months old when she was taken from a tent during a family outing to a sacred Aboriginal site known as Ayers Rock. Her body was never found, and her mother was heard screaming that night that a dingo took her baby. The original investigation determined that the baby died after being taken by a dingo, but suspicion among the public led to Chamberlain's mother being tried and charged with her killing and using the dingo as a cover-up, reports CNN. After finding what is believed to be the baby's jacket in a dingo lair, the case was reopened. An attorney for the Chamberlain family will present new evidence on Friday, evidence he claims will show there have been multiple significant dingo attacks. There is a government campaign in Australia called Be Dingo Safe, warning people of the dingo's aggressive ways. The dingo is a rare and endangered Australian native animal that is now facing becoming extinct as the public demands the dingoes be removed because of their violent, aggressive nature.
Scientists have been trying to confirm what Hollywood has known for decades, that women are attracted to men with chiseled cheekbones and pronounced jawlines. CNN reports a new study published this week in the journal Nature Communications provides evidence that men with high testosterone levels tend to have stronger immune systems and faces that were attracted to women. This relationship, however, was especially pronounced in men with low levels of cortisol, a stress hormone involved in the so-called flight or fight response. This finding, researchers say, suggests that a man's stress levels may play a key role in whether his testosterone is free to work its magic on women. Also, cortisol may have a direct impact on a man's facial features. Benedict Jones, a psychologist at the University of Aberdeen in Scotland, researches the influence of hormones on attractiveness. Jones asserts, quote, "The important thing here is that we're seeing evidence the relationship between men's facial attractiveness and their hormone levels is probably much more complex than we once thought it was. The interplay between cortisol and testosterone seems to be more important than the effects of any one hormone."
Women across America have often wondered what to do with bras that they no longer want. Do you donate it, or do you keep it in the back of your drawer? For one Colorado stay-at-home mom, she found a solution for her unwanted bras that is changing lives. Kimba Langus helped start a charity called Free the Girls. It started small, mainly through word of mouth, and then on Facebook. Soon the word spread, and Langus has been able to collect thousands of unwanted bras. Langus collects bras in any style, size, and color and donates them to young women in Mozambique, a place whose people are desperately poor and often turn to sex trafficking. Bras are considered a luxury item in Mozambique, and the women are able to sell them in secondhand stores, allowing them to make up to 3 times the average wage, which is more than enough to support themselves and keep them out of sex trafficking.
Fear of Iran is inflating the gas prices in the United States. CNN reports tensions with Iran are adding at least 30 cents to a gallon of gasoline in the U.S., and experts say that gas prices have only just begun to rise. Gasoline prices have surged over 10% in the last 2 months. Several factors have caused oil prices to rise, including the sense that the economy is improving and supply disruptions and a handful of minor oil-producing nations. But the biggest factor by far, say analysts, is the fear that tensions with Iran will lead to an all-out war that will cause a disruption in oil supplies. Unless the situation with Iran cools and future prices decline, consumers will likely see that 35 cents a gallon difference at the pump in a matter of weeks. Due to the recession and better fuel efficiency, gasoline demand in the United States, the world's largest consumer, is actually the lowest it's been in a decade, according to the Energy Information Administration. Tensions between Israel and Iran contribute to the spike in oil prices. According to Mike Fitzpatrick, editor-in-chief in Kildreth Reports Energy Review, says, quote, if Israel does hit Iran, all bets are off. $150 of oil is the first marker we'll hit, end quote. Oil at $150 a barrel translates into over $5 a gallon at the pump. We now go to Tyler Dahlgren for a look at sports.
Oregon State men's basketball goes for the season sweep and 100th Civil War win in Corvallis when the Beavers face off against the Oregon Ducks this Sunday for an NCAA record 337th matchup. This season's first meeting between the two teams resulted in a 76-71 OSU victory back on January 29th at Matthew Knight Arena in Eugene. After trailing 28-23 at halftime, Oregon State scored 53 second-half points on a sizzling 57% from the field with a come-behind win. Jared Cunningham dominated the second half with 24 points and finished with 27 in the game to earn Pac-12 Player of the Week honors. Tip-off is at 4:30 p.m. this Sunday at Go Coliseum. The Oregon State women head to Eugene this weekend, looking for a season sweep against the Oregon Ducks in this Saturday's Civil War matchup at Matthew Knight Arena. The Beavers have won their last two meetings, including the January 28th 67-60 victory in Gill Coliseum earlier this season. Oregon State is 23-57 all-time against Oregon in the Civil War series. As part of the Governor's State Employees Food Drive this month, a food drive competition will be held at Saturday's Civil War game. There will be 2 barrels for food donations, as well as 2 jars for money collection, 1 for ducks, 1 for beavers. All proceeds will benefit the local food banks, and the winner will be announced before the 2 o'clock tip-off. The number 8 Oregon State gymnastics team remains at home for the second straight week, facing off against number 16 Boise State in a dual meet tomorrow at 7 p.m. at Gill Coliseum. On Tuesday, Michaela Stambaugh and Leslie Mack were recognized by the Pac-12 for their performance at OSU's 8th annual Pink Out last Friday, February 17th. Stambaugh scored 39.425 to win the all-around and secured the tie with UCLA by scoring a 9.925 in the meet's final routine to earn her first Pac-12 Gymnast of the Week. In addition, Mack tied her career high for the third time this season, scoring a 9.95, including a perfect 10.0 from one judge to earn her second Pac-12 Special Performance of the Week of the season and 5th of her career. Tomorrow's Civil War meet will be webcast live via Beaver Nation Online, the audio-visual home of OSUBeavers.com, for a fee. This has been your look at OSU Athletics.
That's all the news we have for you tonight, but be sure to tune in on Monday at 7 o'clock for a look at your local and international stories.